back to Eric.
Yo.
Mike the Maverick Chiesa. We just went like pow, 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 pow.
Yeah, that was...
It worked out. Michael Chiesa was a surprise in that pow, 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 pow.
Yeah.
But yes, now we can jump back to Phuket top team coach. You used to coach at Alliance as well, right?
Yeah, well, I was a fighter at Alliance, and kind of was also moonlighting as doing a lot of the wrestling and grappling for the pro team.
Can we back up a little bit? Where did you start? Like, when did you know? Like, you know what? I want to start fucking people up.
Oh man, I liked fighting since I was like this big, man. My parents were too poor to afford martial arts, so I'd just go get in street fights. And yeah, I was fighting all the time, and I didn't really get to start training till my second year of high school. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try wrestling out, and I got real good at it, but I wasn't real good at school, so I got sent to like a state institution, and I was in and out of like getting locked up all the time, and so my high school career didn't last very long, and I got back into wrestling once I stopped getting in trouble around 23, but around 20 I started trying to stop getting in trouble. I started to go into the city and wrestle with the Russians in Brooklyn, and just got real deep into Greco-Roman wrestling.
I feel like we skipped some things. So
Yeah.
you said you fought a lot. Can you give me one of your like high school or like give me one of your vicious street fighting stories?
Man, okay.
From start to finish.
Yeah,
Give me the whole thing.
One night I'm hanging out smoking blunts with some girls in a dead end, and some dude comes riding out in his truck and kind of starts scaring the girls a little bit. So the girl pulls away and he starts chasing us. So I got a girl
On
driving.
foot?
No,
Oh, the car.
we're in a car.
Oh,
so
wow.
the girl's driving while this big ass monster truck is following her around. We managed to lose him. We pull into a gas station, and the dude pulls in right after. So he gets out of the truck, and I just walked straight at him and mopped him.
No questions asked.
No questions asked. Just walked straight at him, hit him. He bounced off the truck, came back at me with his hand cocked. I just kind of changed levels and hit like a Zangief Street Fighter pile driver. Just like went in the air, inverted. On the way down, he tried to catch himself. He ended up with a compound fracture in his arm. The bone came out, and I just like that wasn't enough. I just started stomping him with my Timbs on, and yeah, my boy was like, "Yo, you better get out of here." And I was already going to court for an armed robbery. So and then I had that stacked on top of it, and it wasn't a good time in my life.
Right, man.
Oh, yeah, and I know Eric used to bounce. That's a bad combination. When you get a bouncer with a little chip on his shoulder, and then you throw in he knows how to fight, then it turns into like, oh, no. You had an altercation with this bouncer. Now the one who likes to fight is going to come fuck you up.
Because, I mean, Eric, you're a little, like, we're shorter guys growing up against bigger guys.
Yeah.
We're competitive. Like, we have a little bit of Napoleon syndrome. So, like, one thing when people tell me I can't do something, like, that's where you fucked up.
Yes.
Watch this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
100%. Yeah.
Especially you guys both are compact. So you're in, even when you guys fought, you're in like a weight class too, where you probably have the short arms. You've always, but even,
we gotta grab a fool.
I'm saying,
Get my hands on you.
Yeah.
even in your fighting career to your adolescence to growing up, your fights were
Get
in
your hands on 'em.
in tight. You know, yeah.
All right, so now you started wrestling. You're 23. You're training with some Russians in.
Yeah, and I had been wrestling there since I'm about 20. And then I would do real good, and then I would kind of fall off and like go back into the street for a little bit, and then I'd come back.
So now this is around what? Because I remember I met you probably 2003.
So I got out of the street 100% when I was 23. I probably had met you about maybe a year and a half, 2 years later.
Yeah.
Around 25.
Yeah, when I met you, you were like, I'm fighting. I want to be a fighter. I'm going to train. I'm fighting.
Yeah, I knew like I wanted something to do with fight. Man, since I'm this big, like I saw like the Karate Kid in Bloodsport. I was like, that's what I want to do, you know?
Yeah, so like Eric was a guy who was older than me, that I was a kid in a room with men. I looked up to Eric. I looked up to all these guys that, you know, knew some shit that I saw had this thing in their head like, no. A job? No. I'm going to fight people.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight people for fucking money.
Yeah, you know? And there was no, at that time, there was no hopes of getting rich off this shit. You know what I mean? Like now
if you can get by, you're like, that's dope.
if I can eat and fight, like, yo, I'll just bounce at night and fucking train all day. You know what I mean? Like that was really all I cared about. Like I just, you know, I think now there's some guys that aren't so mean, but for me, like to truly be like a fighter, You know, because I talk about this often, that there's fighters, there's athletes, and there's martial artists.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I developed into a martial artist later in life, but I was a fighter first. Like, I like to hurt people.
You liked hurting
you know?
people.
Yeah.
I was an athlete first.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And you merged a little bit. You got a side in you though.
You got a mean streak in you for sure. Yeah,
I'm fighting someone, and in my head they're telling me, no, you can't. I'm like, no.
But even you,
I'm going
you
to.
have like a nice mean streak. You know, like I remember one time, like you were on my back when I was exhausted, and you were like, I could face crank the shit out of you right now. You know, you didn't do it, but he said
It's a little rapey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're my training partner. I need you tomorrow. You know, I need the next day.
100%.
Young Eric or Ricky would have face cranked the shit out of me and been like, learn how to defend it, kid.
I was a real asshole training partner as a young guy, but I had no life skills, no coping skills, really like no parenting, like growing up. You know what I mean? So like I had like no. I didn't know how to treat people, and so I was like living and dying by whether I win or not in everything, you know. And it was really unhealthy. And I try to tell guys to look out for this. Like, winning in the room don't mean shit. You know what I mean? There's a lot of dudes that win in the room, and they're bad motherfuckers, but they just can't do it when the lights come on. And it's a really
when it matters.
Yeah, it's a really unhealthy way to train.
Stan, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I was one of those guys. I was good in the room and then trash in the.
It's too smart.
Yeah, I that's what I've always heard, that I process the consequences. You know, like I think of
and there's ways around that. There's ways to train your brain around that.
You just need someone to smack you before you fight.
Though it takes a watchful eye to kind of guide you through that, you know. And not every coach is able to deal with the psychological approach to the game.
Right. Everybody needs to be coached differently.
Yeah, 100%, man. I've guys from all over the world, all walks of life, and I can't train everybody like a drill sergeant asshole. I can't be too soft on some guys, like, and everybody needs something different. And some guys, what they need, I just can't give them. You know what I mean? And I gotta have
you direct them somewhere else. Like, he's good with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like 23, whatever you were, 2003, like that was a room of nomads.
Yeah.
Before the Ultimate Fighter, that was like you, Ricky, Space Monk. You guys were all like kind of before your time in a sense. Like when you guys were
second generation.
Yeah, like the hungriest you guys were. It's like there's no money in it. No. There's no real even.
No, dude, we were fighting in warehouses for free.
Even back then, there's still no path really for New York guys. And back then there was no path for New York guys.
So LaFleur fought. I remember he was telling me his first few fights were like in like
Pennsylvania.
in Atlantic City, in like underground, or no, in the city, like underground. Did you do that as well?
Yeah.
Before Ron,
he fought Frankie Edgar.
Yeah.
And Frankie Edgar's like first fight.
It was an underground fight. That was not a professional fight.
Yeah, the underground.
Yeah, it was an underground combat league
professional
fight.
rules. You guys were fighting.
Well, there was no rules.
Yeah. That fight I remember was just fucking crazy. And to see what Frankie Edgar became after that, and even to see what you became, like you were always one of those pros that was just right on the cusp of, you know.
Yeah, just it's I like to talk about this a lot because it's was so fucked up. It took me a long time to like mentally like heal, and like stop living and dying by winning and losing, and man, that can cripple you if your identity's wrapped up in winning and losing, and like you're gonna carry that stress with you into the cage every time, and even you're going to carry that stress in the decision making of which fights to take and what risks to take. And man, sometimes you're not going to take risks that you should take because you want to
overcalculate it almost.
You're overcalculating, and you want to keep your ego safe because you're living and dying on whether you're going to like yourself for the next couple of months.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a fucking heavy thing to deal with. I've been suicidal after losing fights before.
I've always said to people, especially from talking to a lot of my friends that have done this at the professional level, it's the loneliest sport in the world. And it's so crippling. Like, people don't realize, like, how defaced you almost feel when you lose a fight, when in reality everyone respects you and they're like, oh, you did great, but you just think you're a piece of shit.
And people can always tell you things, and until it becomes intrinsic and inside you, it doesn't matter, man. People can
the thing, like, who do you say
world.
that with? You don't, even when you lose, you learn, and you're like, fuck that, I don't want to hear that shit.
I'd rather win and not learn.
Yeah, I don't want to learn shit.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all things people say and they mean well, and
usually when people say that, they're not real fighters.
No.
It's like they saw it in a meme, like, dude, get away from me before I fucking...
Don't say that to me right after the fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Man, the mental aspect, and for me, is like really start to get into meditation and stuff, and really start to just kind of delve into like just all the fucked up shit I never dealt with, you know. Once I started sorting through that, man, I started really like coming into my own, and then I decided I didn't want to fight anymore.
Yeah.
So hang on, I think we skipped some things, right?
Yeah.
You were 23, you're
Yeah.
wrestling, and then what was like the first? You're in a room with killers, you're
Yeah.
training, and then like these guys started fighting, so you're like, I'm in.
Yeah, I just took a fight.
You
with,
left pretty soon and went to Vegas, I remember.
Yeah,
back then.
after a couple of pro fights, so I ended up starting my career at like 2-2 or something like that, and took some fights against like 2 really good jiu-jitsu guys early, and I didn't know jiu-jitsu
Right.
at all, so it wasn't the smartest decisions in the world. And then won a couple of fights and moved out to Vegas. I shortly after training with Space Monkey, I was training with the D'Angelos.
Anthony.
Yeah, and then that kind of fell apart. Whatever was going on there.
Because those guys are all originally from Long Island.
Yes.
Anthony D'Angelo, was he in kickboxing before he got into MMA?
Anthony grew up in jiu-jitsu and kickboxing.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu and kickboxing.
And then he went MMA. He moved out to Las Vegas, and you followed him.
No,
out
he
there,
came out
or-
after me.
Anthony.
Okay.
Did Anthony move?
Yeah, he
lived
came out there
like
for a little
year,
while with
yeah.
his dad. They wanted to check out what's going on. But that was after I had gone out
Got
there.
you. Okay.
And
what
I went
made
out
you
there.
decided to move out there?
I had met the guys from Cobra Kai when I went out to wrestle in the national championships for Greco-Roman, and so I got to train with Layman. My boy Ninja was training out there. He's Marcelo Garcia black belt now. I think he has a gym out in Port Jeff, if I'm not mistaken. But I went to go kick it with him, and we're kind of like old street friends. And he let me stay at his apartment while I was out there wrestling. And so I was like, oh man, I met like Mayhem Miller at the time. He was still fighting, and like Dan Henderson. I was meeting all these fighters and stuff, and I was like, that seems to be the spot right now. So I just packed everything up, drove out to Vegas with like $1,500 to my name. Didn't have a job, didn't have nothing, and just kind of worked it all out.
Man. And then from Vegas, I know how long were you there
Yeah,
for?
well, I was in Vegas for a few years, but I was at Cobra Kai for a year.
Were you coaching at Extreme Couture too?
Yeah, I got
you
brought
were
over to
coaching there
Extreme
too,
Couture,
yeah.
and had a few fights there, and that was great. And I'm still really good friends. with all
Working
the
with
guys over there.
you were working with Randy.
Randy,
yeah.
Sean Tompkins was still alive at the time.
I remember having a
yeah.
conversation years ago about
Yeah.
with Randy about you, like
Yeah.
at fights. I'm like, oh, I know Eric Uresk training. He's like, yeah, Eric's good. Eric's
Yeah.
good.
Sean Tompkins was the head coach at the time, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But so we had like all those. I mean, this was when Vegas was
When
the
Extreme
place.
Couture was the place.
Yeah, man. Like any given day, you'd have Vanderlei, Vitor, Forrest, Tyson, Gray Maynard, Mike Pyle, Jay Huron. Man, Jay Huron. I'm cool with Jay now, but when I first met him, like he wouldn't even look at me or like give me the time. I figured like we'd have the common, like we're both from Long Island. It's
Right.
Like, it took me about a good half a year of like being in there grinding before he would even say nothing to me. But he's a good dude. He's just
Oh, yeah, we've talked about Jay on the
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
One of the
He used to-
unheralded guys.
Yeah,
of
he used to
the-
throw me some beatings. I thought he beat Ben Askren personally.
That's what we were
But,
talking about. How people
yeah.
say like, oh, Askren struggled with Jay Heron. Shut the fuck! You don't even know who the fuck Jay Heron.
Yeah,
Jay's good.
No, Jay was good, man.
Jay was underrated.
Jay was underrated, and Jay never really got his time to shine, and like just
He had a couple of off nights that
a
people
couple
kind of
off nights
glorified.
and some tough matchups getting brought into the UFC where they never really gave him like chance to get momentum. You know what I mean? Like
He was tested off the
Yeah,
bat.
here's GSP.
We gotta get him on the show.
Oh, he's a fucking character,
Yeah.
man. Jay's great.
Yeah.
So now from Extreme Couture, did you go right from Extreme Couture to
No, so
Alliance?
I sort of. I came back out here, and I don't know. My life was like in a little bit of a just like limbo.
Is that when you were training with us for a little bit?
No. So
That's much later.
Yeah, much
later,
later.
okay.
So I would be bouncing in the Hamptons every summer, and then save up some dough and go back. But really, what I was doing was fucking girls and stroking my ego every
Right,
summer.
right.
And then I go back out to Vegas where I was a nobody and fucking just train and had nothing really to do. So I would like.
Living the dream.
Yeah, of course,
Living the
kind of.
dream.
You know what I mean?
How old were you at that point?
So from like 25, 26 until about 28, 29, I was out in Vegas. Yeah, something like that. And then I was home. I got a call to if I want to go out to help BJ get ready for the Frankie Edgar rematch. And they're like, yeah, and you'll probably help out Dominic Cruz a little bit. So I'm like, fuck Dominic Cruz. Like, I want to go train with BJ. And I ended up going out to Alliance. So I just got the first plane ticket I could, went out to Alliance. The BJ thing never panned out, but I really liked the training vibe at Alliance. Like, It was cool, and I could see like Del Fiero, like I never heard of him before, but I could see this guy is a smart coach, and everybody did everything together as a team, and it was cool. So after like a few weeks of being there, I'm like, yo, can I stay here? And so I was living above the gym, and so I lived above the gym for about a year and a half with Danny Martinez, who was a UFC flyweight for a while, and
who you're still really cool with.
Yeah,
You
like
cornered Danny for all those fights,
cornered
right?
for all those fights, and so and then I was ended up making a pretty decent life there. I was there for about 4 years. And that's when I had come to train with you guys for a little bit after from there going out to Thailand to seek some opportunities, and then after my first
Because you were with us for like 6 months.
Yeah.
That might have been like the prime of. Well, no, Long Island is still kicking it, but like, you were around.
Well, it's one of those things.
You were in.
I didn't get to train with Eric like one time.
Yeah.
I trained with Eric years ago when I was a little kid, and then when you came back to the gym that day, I was dead. Like I was dog shit. My ankle was the flare broke, like destroyed my ankle. So I was taping it up and coming in for the rounds, and I was like, "Oh, Eric, let's go."
Yeah.
Not fun. Eric fucked me up. It was just like I had no guard. He was just passing my guard mount, and it was just him on top of me, just chest pressure, just anytime he wanted to posture up, just grinding on my face, and I'd had no buck, no defense. So I was like, "This is fucking trash," Yeah. And you got one of those styles, passing, pressure. So. I didn't get to show you. I got pretty good over the 18
That's all I hear,
but
yeah.
Now, every time Eric comes to the room, he brings something. He's
Well,
teaching something cool where I'm like, ooh, I really like that.
I remember when Eric was there, I only got literally one chance to train with him, and then I fought, hurt, and then I knew after the fight I wasn't going to train or fight for a couple months because my shit was fucked up.
Right, because you were about to take a fight in the ring of combat while you were training with us, and then that...
Yeah, it just didn't pan out, and I ended up getting an opportunity to go out to England.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, and so I went out to England, and that just didn't work out. And
You're getting paid to coach, right?
Coach, and they were supposed to set me up with like a bunch of like fights and stuff like that, and none of what was promised got delivered, which happens from time to time. But it is what it is. Sometimes I jump into things head first and probably shouldn't, but I don't care. I just make it work and adjust as things go on. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going back out to Thailand, and just kind of walked back in.
Well, back to Thailand. You had been there before coaching or there training?
Training and coaching. Yeah.
Same place?
Yeah.
Puka
Top team.
So then when you went back, you stepped into a bigger role? Or?
Yeah, it just kind of happened, and I was getting ready for a fight, and the fight got canceled the week of.
A Thai fight? A Thai fight,
no,
right?
No.
Oh,
I fought a few times Muay Thai there, but an MMA fight. And so over my career, I've had about 7 years worth of fights canceled.
Yeah.
So 2 times for 2.5 years. That's 5 years total of back-to-back fights just getting canceled. Injuries before my Bellator debut, and I just couldn't, like, after that last one, I was just heartbroken. Like, I couldn't mentally, I knew I couldn't invest what it takes to train for a fight properly again. And I was 35, and I was at peace with myself. I was like, you know what, like, I didn't get to do maybe professionally what maybe I was capable of doing, but I became the martial artist that I wanted to become, and I was kind of content with myself. Like, the chip sort of fell off my shoulder about like needing to accomplish certain things to be all right with myself, and I was okay retiring, and I knew that that coaching was calling me, and I still fought Muay Thai like after that. Like I still like to fight, but training for a professional MMA fight, it takes
a lot.
It takes extreme selfishness, and nothing else can really exist, and I just wasn't in a place where at that point in time where I was willing to invest what I know needs to be invested. There's guys that are happy to not train that way, and more power to them. I can't do that, man. I think if you
well, it's that pride that you're putting on the line.
Yeah,
It's not the money. It's not. It's like the pride, and like I'm gonna do everything in my power to win.
Yeah, I never fought for money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Ever. It wasn't really about that.
That was a perk. That was
That's
cool.
A perk.
Getting paid for
I'm
this.
getting paid for this. Dope. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was just like, and I knew I'd be a really good coach at some point in time. I had a good feeling. Like, guys would always kind of put me in a leadership position wherever I went, and I didn't like go out seeking to do that. It just kind of fall into it, And so yeah, that's it, man. Like last year we had 3 major titles and come out of our gym, and in major organizations, 1 championship in Bama in the UK, I've got guys flying in to train with me from all over the world. You got high-level UFC guys, Bellator, ACB. Some of those guys are really, really tough. Shows, won championship, and shows
Oh yeah,
all over the
one's
world.
doing big things now.
Yeah, they are. They are doing big things.
Name drop a little bit. Who's coming to train with you?
So Paul Daly was just out with me for a couple weeks, and that was cool. I've James Vick comes out to train with me pretty often. I think he's actually going to be there when I get back. He's looking to get together. Bellator just signed Terry Brazier, who is tearing up the UK scene. He won belts in 2 weight divisions, so he's a major signing, and they've put quite a bit into him. So they're hoping to get big things out of him.
Bellator's making some quiet moves.
Brendan Laughlin is one of my guys. He trains with me and at Alliance MMA also. He may be jumping into a last-minute UFC fight soon, very, very soon. So we hope that he gets that fight. And he's probably the best featherweight in the UK. Not just in Europe right now. He's probably the best featherweight in Europe. So we're hoping to get big things out of him. We have Vitaly Bigdash, who is the one championship middleweight champion for quite a while. And he should be back in the hunt for that belt soon. Yeah, we get guys coming from all over. I probably missed a ton of people, but
Right.
yeah, I have so many guys that I have guys that come to do camps with me. I have guys that live and stay with me.
Because you came, you trained with us, and you left your impact. I'm like, dude, love this guy. So I started following you on social media, and it seemed like anywhere you went, like you're running these like high level, like with like UFC stars practices. I'm like, damn, my man is like a G. Like back at Alliance, if you're in there for a week, you're running the practice for a week. If you go, wherever you go, it seems like, hey, like, dude, get in here. Show us some shit.
I love coaching, and I like coaching to guys that appreciate it. You know what I mean? So when you get a new group of people, and like sometimes when you have the same thing all the time, even if it's good stuff, you take it for granted. So when I get in front of a new room, that shit just lights me up, because like the people, like they're so eager to kind of see your take or your philosophy on training and fighting all together, and it really excites me. Like I really like working with people that are appreciative. You know what I mean? And like people that are stoked on the information that you're giving them.
Yeah.
That shit fires me up.
Yeah.
So you know how when you train, your whole life, and you're training with all these different coaches, you obviously look up to a coach. You try to emulate your coaching after somebody.
Yeah.
Who was that guy for you?
So I've been really fortunate, man. I've had some wizards as coaches. So my original wrestling coach was Yuri Volensky. He's an old Russian Jewish guy that lives down in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn. He had coached some Soviet Union Olympic champions in the late 70s, and then had emigrated here. So his technique and training was of the highest caliber. I had Sean Tompkins, who produced some really, really good fighters. Probably the most influential on me is Eric Del Fiero. He's really one of the best game planners that I've ever met. And he's really good technically as well, but his game planning and his mindset and the way he digs into the psychology of things is really impressive. And then on the grappling end, Neil Melanson's had a huge influence on me. I've gotten to train with him both at Extreme Couture and Alliance, and just his sort of philosophy of brutality.
I was gonna say, I heard he's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And we'll break that.
Yeah.
His style is very vicious.
Yeah, and I dig that, and I think for a fight that's really important, And over the last couple of years, I've gotten more and more into BJJ, and because I'll still compete in that now, and so I'm sort of evolving with all that stuff, and I try to take from wherever I can, training for a few Muay Thai fights, you get a good sort of perspective on pure striking and fighting in pure striking, and how I can take that stuff into it and give it to my athletes.
I think Del Fiero is one of those guys, very underrated.
Yeah, if you sit and talk with him, man, he's told me things that have gone on in corners and adjustments that he's made, and it's like, damn, I got so far to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of, like, technically, like on a technical level, like I'm pretty. I know I can get better, but I'm very happy with where I'm at technically. Some of the things he does on the psychological end, like it's really motivating and influencing on me to.
Man, I want to talk with this
which
guy.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you two know, being in the cage at
Yeah.
the professional level, psychological is
Yeah.
the fight. That's the fight. Like a lot of it's physical,
Yeah.
yes, but
Eric's not a fame hound, so you won't see a lot of like tape or film on him like talking at all, because he's kind of like pretty reserved and laid back. But fuck, man, so a couple times, like, you hear about rappers like ripping up their rhyme book after they hear somebody like spit a dope verse or something like that. Like, that's how I feel sometimes after he tells me, like, post-fight, like adjustments that he had to make or things that went on in the corner. I'm like, fuck, that's brilliant. Like I would have
Oh
never
yeah,
thought
like
of
I'm
that.
sure you had those days in the beginning, and you too. Like I remember when I was in Florida at the American Top Team, and just like I would go into classes, even days at Lima, like you just have a shitty day and you get fucked up by good guys that you leave and you literally like throw your gym bag in the car like fuck this shit, fucking, and then you come back down a little bit and you're like, all right, it wasn't that bad of a day. I gotta take down.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's good to know that there's levels to reach, man. You know, I haven't been at this too long, head coaching, and it's been about 2 years now, a little over 2 years maybe, and things are going well, man. I'm enjoying the ride and just constantly evolving my approach and my philosophy, and I'm starting to see like, oh shit, my shit works. You know what I mean? And like guys that I respect as fighters and even coaches, like they like my stuff too. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh wow, like it's weird because you're doing the stuff in the room every day and you're going through it, but then when you kind of actually see people employing it like or while you're in the corner, but it's even crazier when it's live on TV. Like if I've worked with a guy but I don't go corner him, and then I watch him employ the stuff that I know I've worked on him.
Oh,
with,
you're definitely gonna see me do my shit. That shit.
Yeah.
We went over like just cutting different angles instead of like, cause I'm like a bull, like like how Eric grapples with you, right? Constant pressure, and I'll do that right into the guy. He's like, "No, man, sidestep and come with your pressure, different angle." I'm like, ooh.
Game changers, yeah.
I think so. And obviously today was my first day kind of working it with that mindset, because I think I've done it before, like not even knowing
you guys
I was
worked that earlier
yeah,
today?
today?
we trained this morning.
Yeah, that's why I was like, he was leaving, I'm like, Eric, you want to come on the podcast? Because you got some good shit, you know?
Yeah. How was that? Was there a pro class this morning? Any guys or just you two?
No,
Yeah, it was
Group of guys?
little group of guys, like 6-7 guys, but we had a good time, man. We didn't kill ourselves. We kept it at like 70% in the live rounds, and I think we all got something more out of it than just trying to
A little more personal attention on technique, and those classes are really good when you get to actually fine tune things, and you get the small group where it's not the meat grinder. Of
Well,
cardio.
I mean, Eric's been around the block, and he was saying it today. It's like we had this mentality, like this wrestling mentality, like go hard, crush it, like tear yourself apart. Where it's like it doesn't have to be that.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah.
And
even Eric for coaching, like you brushed elbows with the who's who, so you probably have little snippets that you take.
I steal from everybody.
And the everybody is UFC champion, UFC fighter, Bellator fighter. This guy, and they're all people that are like, all right, that's worth something to steal. That's worth something to steal.
Always.
So when you add it all together, you get a coach like you. That's, I'm sure, in the next couple of years, you're still young. How old are you? Like
37.
You're young, so for your coaching, I'm sure by the time you're 40, 45, who knows where you're going to be.
Yeah, and I think, too, once I kind of stopped competing and training so hard, like I'm still training 2-a-days, because I'm just not ready to stop that yet, and I still can. So, and I think in the long run, I'm gonna gain more knowledge that way. I'll be able to kind of devote more time to the fighters.
All right.
So I was having lunch with Hugh McKenna. He was in the room today, and
you know Hugh? You met Hugh?
Yeah. And we were talking about like psychopaths and being a sociopath and stuff like that. And my girl had someone at work. She's like, I think she's a psychopath, And they started looking. And he walked out of the room, and they started looking up like questions to ask a psychopath. And like one of them is like, do you ever feel like a psychopath? And so when he came back to the room, one of the girls was like, do you ever feel like a psychopath? And they're like, dude, like, we were going to ask him, like, smaller questions and work up to that, And then so I was telling Hugh that, and then I was at dinner with my girl last night, and she started asking me, like, she, like, looked up online, like, some questions, like, if you're a psychopath or not.
Sociopath. Psychopath or sociopath?
Difference.
There is a difference. And a psychopath is, he doesn't have feelings, correct?
That's a sociopath.
Sociopath. Eric is a sociopath.
No. A sociopath is they have feelings, but they can like just turn it on and off.
Yeah.
A psychopath is just like, no, like I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think anything normal registers to them at all.
And so we're going through the list of things, and like I'm like, that's me. That it's yes, that's definitely me. That's somewhat me. No, definitely not me.
That's probably a lot of lists though.
Yeah. And I was like, definitely me, somewhat me. And then towards the end, I like redeemed myself. We're like, no, definitely not me.
Yeah.
So it read 1 to 12 is like not a psychopath. 12 to 15 are like semi, like, yeah, you're on the spectrum. And then 15 to 18 is like, yeah, you're a psychopath. And I got 11. I'm like, oof.
Ooh.
Yeah, but like,
You're fucking crazy though. You fight for a living.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So
Fucking crazy.
hang on. So so where I'm going with this is me and Hugh were talking about like just crazy thoughts that go through our head. Like I remember I was in college. I was running. You know, we were warming up, and my coach was just, taking a knee, and I was like, if I crow hopped him, like what would happen? Like would he be knocked out? Would he get up? Would it be a fist fight between me and him? Would other wrestlers chase me? Like, do these questions ever like? We're definitely changing topics right now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, if I was,
this is a little funner.
Well, what I'm getting from your saying is sizing up the room. Is that what you're saying, or you're talking about just
no,
running up
just crazy. Like
Yeah.
Hugh, like he lives in the city. He's like, man, like I could push. Like, what would happen if I push this guy off the tracks onto the tracks? You get hit by.
Yeah.
Do you have these thoughts?
yeah, like sometimes you ever see? I always think like
you're
it'd be so
definitely a
funny.
sicko.
Yeah. I think it'd be so funny. Like if I saw this in a movie, like in real life, I think it was terrible. But if I just ran up and cold cocked like an old lady, you know what I mean? Just like pushing a grocery cart. Like in a movie, that'd be hilarious.
Well, I've never
Yeah.
had like a crazy thought about like an old lady. It's always like something that would be like a challenge for me. Like if I was at the zoo, like, man, if I jumped over here and went into the tiger exhibit, like, would I survive?
That's the shit you spend your time thinking
Well,
about?
no, hang on. I don't even go out of my way to think about it. It just pops in there.
Just pops in.
Well, I don't think that's psychopathic. I think that's
Yeah.
a what if. You know what I mean? Like
That's actually imagination, I would say.
yeah. That's just being imaginative.
I don't. Yeah, but there's a little bit like a psychopath.
No.
like,
No. I
You
think that's
just-
pretty.
yeah,
I think
you
it's
just
just
have a
kind of like
crazy
a
imagination.
childlike imagination. You know what I mean? Like what if? What would happen? I think more like if you were having homicidal fantasies, that would be different.
That would be a problem.
Like, hang on. So with you today, I was like, man, like growing up, I've always wanted my house to burn down and like me get out. Like,
The
I think I would survive that. You know what I mean?
Probably.
Hugh goes, I've thought about how I could trap everybody in the house and then burn the house down.
Oh my goodness.
I would suspect Hugh more of a candidate to be a psychopath than you,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And Hugh's dad's nuts.
Yeah. Hugh would tell me some of the things that
Yeah.
his dad has done. And like my dad would like, I think I am the way I am because like, what'd you do, son? Like,
Oh yeah. One night I came home wasted, and
how old are you?
man, I might have been 18.
Okay.
Wasted. I was on all kinds of drugs and God knows what, but pretty much blacked out. Walked in the living room, so my mom's sleeping on the couch, and I basically just missed pissing on her head by like this much in the living room. And,
By an inch.
by an inch, by inches. She's like, wakes up like, what
She
are you
definitely
doing?
got some splash.
Possibly. I wish for the story's sake I did piss on her, but fucking because it would be way funnier. But I didn't. And my dad came out of the room, spear tackled me, basically full mounted me, and just like turned my face into hamburger meat.
Damn.
Yeah,
No
that
good.
sucked.
You guys don't have any like crazy like
I got crazy stories like that I can go for hours,
about what?
Just crazy family stories. Like my immediate family was good, like my mom and dad were good, but my whole family is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
my
just
family's so
drugs,
degenerative.
fights. So like when I was a little kid, like my mom and dad, not knowing how fucked up and crazy the side of the family was, because a little bit naive or whatever, they would drop me off for like play dates, and it would be like, okay, they would think my aunt and uncle would be watching me or something like that. No, it was me and my cousin like running around where there was cocaine over here, fucking drawer full of money, like just crazy shit, Like I've seen bloodbath. I've been 8 years old, 10 years old, and I've seen bloodbath fist fights where I've stood there with my arms crossed like, oh shit, this shit's getting serious. And I'm 8 years old, 10
Somebody
years
ought to
old.
break this up.
Literally,
But not me.
literally, me and my other like 13-year-old cousin being like, should we do something? What are we gonna do?
Right.
I've even been in situations where I was telling my sister this story today, and she was like, that happened? I was like, yeah, I don't fucking glorify it. My uncle was a drug addict one time. My cousin called me up and was like, just called me up screaming, like, they're killing each other. Get here now. I'm like, whoa, who's killing each other? So my uncle and his jailhouse buddy were having a fight to the death in the house, breaking up the whole house. So I just fucking drove around the block, Got there, walked in, the house was getting broken up. I was like, Justin, what the and Justin standing there like, do something. I'm like, Justin, what the fuck you doing? Fuck him up. I just jumped on the guy's back, fucking threw in the fucking choke. Big motherfucker.
The jailhouse buddy.
The jailhouse. He was on top of my Uncle Philip, like fucking choking him, like getting the better of him.
Right.
Like, surprisingly, my Uncle Philip.
How old are you?
Old. I was like 21, 22 at the
Okay.
time. Probably maybe 20. Yeah, probably like 21, 22. Jumped on his back, threw a rear naked choke him. Was just like, I think he even went to like fight my hand, switched to a short choke, put him to sleep. Got off, got my Uncle Philip up. My Uncle Philip started hitting the guy, woke the guy up from hitting him. And he was like, stop, I'm good. I'm sorry. And then they did like a, why'd you fuck with me? Let's clean this place up. And me and my cousin Justin were like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what
Jesus
the
Christ.
fuck? I walked in, fight to the death. This guy's going to kill my uncle. You know what I mean? Woke up from a sleep and was like, ooh.
You know what's so crazy? Like, whenever fights break out in front of me, like, I, like, somewhat, like, freeze up. Like, do I do anything? Like, I just, like, I actually, like, freeze up and just watch it. Like,
I'm sure Eric's like me when a brawl breaks
he's
out.
actually a bouncer. He's got that bounce. Hang on. So...
Well, your head goes on a swivel and you start looking.
Yeah, even when I go out to this day, if I go out, I'm always checking the room.
So, a quick story about my one night as a bouncer. My older brother lived above a bar, right? And there's this, my brother's best friend's younger brother, who's a little older than me, who's my brother's friend too. We're all friends. He's on steroids and shit like that. He's like, yeah, I'm fucking jacked. And he's like, you wrestle, huh? I was like, yeah. He's like, he started doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's like, you want to do a few rounds with you? I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, nah, I want to do a few. And we had a few drinks. Like, I'm going to do a few rounds with you. I'm like, no, man. Like, I don't want to. Like, we're drinking. Like, no. Doesn't stop, just like whatever. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. Shirt off. And we're in my brother's apartment above the bar. And so it's my brother's apartment, the bar owner's apartment, and then the bar. The bar is closed. It's after the bar is shut down. So it's, 3 o'clock in the morning. So, like, just off of wrestling alone, like, double leg, took him down, like, I don't know, full Nelson, like, whatever, like, I tapped him out. He's like, no, let's go again. Like, dude, like, I just beat you. Like, stop. Yeah. Like, nope. So, like, fucking another double leg, like, take his back, choke him out. And I just know wrestling. And, like, I watched WWF, So the bar owner comes upstairs, who's, like, a friend, like, what's going on up here? And my brother's like, dude, Dennis just fucked up Sal. And he's like, oh, yeah? So he's like, Dennis, like, you want to bounce? I'm like, okay, So... The next night, I'm a bouncer, and these guys come in a little sketch, Like let me see your ID. Like, let me see your ID. I'm like, I'm the bouncer. Like, yeah, whatever. Because I'm short. So the guy walks in. Sure enough, these guys become a problem. They start like fighting outside the bar. So to me, I'm like, they're not in the bar. I don't have to do anything about it. Like the bartender like jumps over the bar like thing and like goes out there and like breaks it up. And I was just like...
The bartender did your job.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it started going down, and I, like, kind of froze up, like, and in my head, I rationalized it, like, they're not in... No one's saying go out there and break it up, and they're not in the bar.
All those dudes would have got slayed.
You would have been, like, out the door.
Oh,
someone's getting launched.
people.
The Neptune's parking lot, those guys would have got slayed. Yeah. They would have got made an example.
Well, it's knowing... where the property ends and like if you're responsible for them being on the property and that going on.
So there's a bar, the sidewalk in front of the door. That
might be depending on the laws wherever you're at. Yeah, that might be
upstate New York. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be up to you right there.
That's what I was thinking. Like, whatever, fuck it.
Well, no, like on you to like that would be the bar would be liable.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
especially because they were drinking inside the bar.
Yes, exactly. So my job is to make sure that the bar doesn't become liable for anything.
Right. Now, when you were bouncing, at the time, did you drink?
No, I haven't drank since 2004.
So, like, when you got off the streets, you cut everything out.
I had to. I was going to die. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
I know. I told Dennis earlier. He was like, should we get some beers? I was like, no, he's sober. Trust me, I've been there. I've been that dick who offered him 10 drinks.
But I don't care. Like, I'm a huge marijuana advocate. Like, I'm all about it. Like, do drugs, drink,
and
do
right
whatever
when
you
I
wanna
sent
do.
Dennis that text, Dennis texted me back. I just offered him beer. I just was like, let's drink,
I didn't say let's drink. I just said,
we'll
I will
beers.
pick some up.
Yeah, but no, it's whatever to me. I prefer people just do what they
So while
enjoy.
you were bouncing, like, you were like...
Dead sober, making horrible decisions. Yeah. No excuse.
Now the scene, because I mean, like, you know, being from upstate and like hearing about like Neptunes and what's it, Barney Barn? Or
Bordy Barn.
That would be the
Bordy
name
Barn.
of this podcast. Making horrible,
like,
that's sober, making horrible decisions.
What, like, describe that scene to people that, you know,
Shit
aren't from
show.
Long Island or don't know about that.
Two completely
Out in the
different scenes.
Hamptons, right?
Yeah. So the Bordy Barn is people that don't like to go to clubs, right? Okay, but they like to go to bars. Now, this is a bar on steroids where you can buy beers for $1 for half the day, and then it goes up to $2 at the second half when they ring a bell. But it's dirt cheap, and they're these little there's little half keg cups of beer. So you're knocking them down. And back in the day, you used to be able to throw beer on people and like Then they kind of cut down the drink throwing and stuff. I drove home from there when I was like 21 one time, like not a good idea. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how I made it home, but yeah, just an insane place. Everybody's singing like bar songs, Sweet Caroline, shit like. It's a good time. Do not go there sober. You'll have the worst fucking time of your life.
And I was also told, do not go there like with like nice clothes
No, hell
on.
no.
Like
No,
it
you go
gets
there-
muddy,
Right.
right?
Now, Neptune's on the other end is people that
That's where all the Guidos go.
Guidos, nightclub enthusiasts.
It's the Jersey Shore, no? Like, I mean,
half,
the people from...
half the crowd would be that. The other half of the crowd would be people that enjoy like deep
music.
house and house music, and you know, so you'll have the Guidos and then a little bit more of the
Steroided
higher,
out.
yeah,
Shirts
the
off,
biggest people you've ever seen
and
in
then
your
the
life.
girls with the fake boobs and
Hot.
like the smallest like bikinis they could wear.
Yes, it was awesome.
I mean, I think I heard that and I was like, I want to go.
Yeah, fuck yeah. No, it was great. I got way more pussy than I deserved just from wearing a yellow
The
tank top.
highlight of Neptunes was a little bit before my time.
Yeah.
But I always heard like amazing things, and then by the time I got old enough to go, it was like watered down version
Right.
on its way out.
Right.
know,
And
so-
you were a bouncer there when it was in its...
I got the last good years
Okay.
out of it. The last good years, and then I left when it was just on its way
Now,
down.
were you a head bouncer?
No, but I kind of I was up there. I would run nights and stuff like that, but I wasn't the head guy. The head guy was this guy Timmy Sadowski, and I think the statute of limitations is pretty much up on a lot of the stuff that went on there, so I can talk freely about what happened. But it was crazy. Like I when I left to go out to San Diego, but like, man, we were being investigated for like obstruction of like government investigations because they were Southampton wanted to shut those clubs down so bad. They were sending undercovers in, and I was pointing out the undercovers, and which it was in the best interest of the club, but they were not happy about it. So they started running investigations on me, just waiting to catch me like slip up and hit somebody in a parking lot or something like that. And yeah, it was fucking crazy, dude. It stopped being fun at that point. Like before that, we could get away with pretty much anything.
Just power bombs.
So yeah, because in a lot of the worlds, like the bouncers don't run the club, right? The bouncers work for the club, and then you're basically there like holding doors. You're in like a service industry. In New York, you're paid to be intimidating and handle shit. So it was a completely different job to say when I worked in Vegas as a door guy. Like, that sucked, dude.
Right.
You had to be polite to everybody and, like, hold doors. It was horrible.
Right.
You know what I mean? But here, you're like a superhero.
Right.
Like, you know, you're running the whole inner workings of the club. So we were getting away with murder. Yeah, it was fucked up. I'm going to put it in a book someday.
What do you... Oh, you definitely have to write a book.
Yeah, at some point.
You have great stories. I think from, like, your upbringing to... training and fighting to, you know, bouncing to coaching.
Yeah.
I think you
Oh,
have...
yeah, well, that's like I said. Eric's another one of our guests that we could probably do just a show, just talking history with Eric.
Yeah.
That's why I got... love Mike. We could have talked to Mike longer, but I'm like, Eric's here. We need to fucking...
Mike surprised us with that one.
We need to cash out on Eric right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Mike's surprised with that one. But the good thing about Eric is Eric's one of those guys that we know that we could probably call Eric next week and he'll come on the show.
Yeah.
you know?
If I'm around, man, I enjoy doing this stuff. I want to start getting into podcasting myself. It's like one of my passions is like how these ideas get spread, and it's just an awesome format that's been
Oh,
coming
yeah,
out.
what we got to do is me and Dennis want to eventually take our show on the road. We got to plan a trip to Thailand and do Menace and the Man from Phuket team.
Yeah, if Menace the Man starts making that kind of money where we're playing...
We'll get there.
I'm in.
In time.
It's a good format. Yeah.
In time,
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
get there. We just got to keep putting them out there, you know?
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
What are we up to? What is this?
This is number 5.
Episode
Oh
5?
man, yeah.
Episode
just
5.
keep doing
so-
what you're doing. You guys have good guests on. You know what I mean? So
Fire
it's-
guest. This one, so last week, CERN called it an action-packed podcast, and I loved hearing that. And I was like, it was a fucking action-packed podcast this week. Fuck that podcast up.
Sandbag
Yeah.
and Serm.
Yeah. Sandbag and Serm. Absolutely.
I don't feel like I was as funny in this podcast. I mean, we talked to a lot of people about business. And fighting.
We got down to
and
business. We got some life, too.
and you know what, Stan? I actually want to apologize. Last week, I feel like in the beginning, right? I was mean. I was lighting your ass up. I re-listened to it. It's like, hang on.
You're always kind of mean, but that's kind of like our rapport, you know? Similar to even like mine and LaFlair's. It's a little bit give and take, you know? You gotta eat some shit sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, no, I mean, we're buddies, and like, if I can't make fun of you, we can't be friends.
We can't be friends.
Yeah, we're not even
I was just...
And I expect to be made fun of.
If you're too soft that you can't take it,
I was just reading
even
some
wanna know you.
science behind why men do that with each other, right?
Okay.
And it's not because we don't want to avoid like intimacy with each other. What it is to make sure that nobody in the group, because dating back to when we were like foraging and egalitarian societies, that nobody in the group gets too big above the group. So anybody that thinks they're getting too big, your boy's got to knock you down a little bit, because nobody can get their head so big that they're going to get more food than everybody else.
Right.
Oh, so Dennis, that's what it is. Subconsciously, Dennis thinks I'm getting all cocky and shit. He's ready
Well,
to...
I mean, you're already 240. I don't want to get any bigger with all the
I'm
food.
fat. I don't have an inflated ego. I'm just fat.
Well, I'm just making sure your
I
ego
weigh
and
I
your
weigh
eating don't
230
get
now.
too out of hand.
Like the last time we trained, last time you saw me at Lima, I weighed 176. Then I broke my leg training with Gotti, 50 pounds. I weigh 230 now, heavyweight.
What are you going to do about that?
I gotta get
He's
back
okay
to
with
training.
it, he
No,
said.
I gotta get back to training. You know.
He's gonna keep eating double gulps.
Have you
from
had any injuries
drinking-
really through your career?
Nerve damage.
No surgeries though,
No
right?
surgeries though.
I had to get the surgery. I had to get the plates, and I have like 16
That's
screws.
fucked up,
so
man.
what it is, I gotta avoid the risk of infection. So I gotta get all
No,
that metal
you know
out.
what it is. You gotta stop drinking double gulps.
Well, I'm talking about
from 7-Eleven.
what I'm gonna do about the weight is gonna.
Yeah,
I gotta
the-
get
the double gulps
yeah, but I
from
gotta get back to-
7-Eleven
I gotta get
are
back
not
to training.
helping.
Main thing is gotta get back to training.
But he's kind of right about the double goal.
Oh, absolutely. But I need the double gulps.
Oh, man, that's like 70 grams of sugar.
I gotta go with Dr.
Syrup.
Pepper. We're gonna hopefully get Dr. Pepper as a sponsor one day.
I don't want that because they're gonna send us free Dr. Pepper, and I don't like Dr.
Yeah.
Pepper.
What if they go monetary and they send us money? You'll like that.
Yes, I will. Dr. Pepper, you guys are gold.
Yeah.
All right, so episode 5, Menace and the Man. Where can people find you, Eric? You're definitely one of those guys that I think everyone should follow. That you can learn wrestling, you can get some philosophy on life.
Sure. Eric the Gentleman on Instagram is probably the best way to check me out. I don't really fuck with Twitter too much. Like I have a Twitter, but I don't really use that shit too much. That's the best way to follow me. I'm always putting up all kinds of different information and things like that, and should be putting out even more material, more video stuff, more content, and hopefully be getting into a little bit more podcast. You could also check out my YouTube channel, Eric Uresk Submission Grappling, if you want detailed breakdowns that I actually shoot in my classes. So you'll basically get good video of me in class breaking things down that I like to teach, and always putting up content there.
Killing game.
Yeah,
What's
I
going
like
on
it.
with you, Dennis? How was your week? Any training?
This past yeah, I've been training. But this past weekend, I went upstate. Me and my family have a Thanksgiving because life happens. You get older, you start having kids, significant others, and it's hard to get the core family together for Thanksgiving. And so we decided like, hey, the weekend before Thanksgiving, we'll always get together, and that's gonna be our thing. And then on Thanksgiving, go wherever you want. You come back here if you want to. So I
That's a
did
good
that.
thing. So what, you were upstate this weekend?
Yep. And then now I'm training a little bit and doing the podcast and hanging out with Eric.
Making a gold show right here. So we'll get this show out for everybody. Hope you guys enjoy. Menace and the Man, episode 5. We'll see you guys next week for episode 6.
Right.
Well, see you later.